G'day, my name is Damien Beard and welcome to my last video for COMP3530. So this week we're looking at system dynamics, sustainability and the big picture. So I'm planning on filming this over the 3 weeks and then mashing it all together at the end. So why don't we start with system dynamics. Chris Brown was the panelist this week and he gave us a formal introduction to system dynamics. But this actually wasn't the first time we've seen it in the course. It's been mentioned a few times, and Robin Clay Williams, who was our panelist for human error, actually talked about it quite extensively in her panel as well. But the impression that I get about system dynamics is that if model-based systems engineering and system thinking got together and they had a love child, then that love child would be system dynamics. And you can quote me on that. So it's about having a problem, having a look at the system, finding the internal and external factors that affect that system. And obviously you can't have every single factor that affects the system, so you're going to have to exclude some. And then modeling the internal and external impacts of those factors on your system, so you can either find a solution to your problem or at the very least isolate where your problem is stemming from. We got a really good example with the bed shortage problem that is occurring in hospitals at the moment. So they modeled this system with system dynamics, and what they found was that it wasn't a lack of beds that was causing the problem that people couldn't get into beds in hospital. It was the fact that the list for elective surgery was so long that even when beds were free, they weren't taking patients from the emergency room. They were offering those beds to people who were on the list for elective surgery. And interestingly, they didn't know that's where their problems were stemming from before they modeled it with system dynamics. So that was one interesting example. The other one that I want to show in this video is it comes from a slide that Chris Brown showed us during his presentation, and it's modeling resources that humans use over time. So the solid line represents history, what's happened and the trends that we've observed, and the dotted line is what's predicted to happen in the future, what has been predicted based on system dynamics. So take a moment to just have a look and particularly pay attention to what happens around 2030. So basically, if you missed it, at 2030, the global economy crashes and the population of the world actually starts decreasing. So lots of people are expected to die around this time. So basically, the plan is stockpile yourself a bunch of money, get yourself a house, and get yourself set up before 2030. I mean, look, I don't know if the world is going to crash then or whatever. No one can know. But these topics are interesting and they're controversial, and they're helpful for society to try and model these so we can give this information to policy planners, we can keep out this information for ourselves if we're going to stockpile money in 2030, whatever we want to do with it. It's interesting and it's controversial and it's fun to study, as I'm sure sustainability will be next week. Thank you. Welcome to the week addressing sustainability. There's only one topic that I really want to address this week on sustainability, and that is the idea that technology is changing the face of sustainability. What does that mean? It means that social media and smartphones are making it possible that moments after big social issues happen, we're finding out about it. I mean, we don't even have to wait to get to a computer anymore. We can just pick up a phone, it buzzes in our pockets, and we already know what's going on, and awareness is being spread about big issues in our world. And that's a big deal for sustainability advocates, because one of the biggest hurdles they had to overcome was creating awareness of the issues they cared about. This technology is allowing our generation to change the way the world is operating. People in Australia are putting pressure on governments across the world to be more humane in the way they operate, and that is something that is incredible. You know, with one click of a button, we're signing petitions and changing the face of the world as we know it. I mean, we don't have to do anything. We literally click a button and we're changing things, you know. It doesn't even require commitment. You can say, yeah, sure, I'll sign your petition as long as you like my new Facebook page. It's about hilarious goats. I mean, what it comes down to is communication. We're opening new channels that have never been tapped into before, and it's meaning that we can fight for sustainability issues and we can do it in numbers, which is incredible. And there it is again, the idea of communication in this course. that it is linked to everything. It's the key behind everything. Next week we're talking about the big picture. We're tying this whole thing in together, and as you've seen in my videos, I think communication is one of the biggest keys to this course. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't come up, but I'll be sure to let you know what happens when it does. Thank you. So this is it. Last week, if you've made it this far, I want to say thanks for watching, and this part here will be a wrap-up of the big picture. Systems engineering fundamentally deals with complexity. The first comment from our first panelist this week, who was Jeff Patch from CEA, was that systems dynamics has to deal with complexity, and increasing a system's size is more than just increasing its size, it is increasing its complexity. And it's interesting, Jeff hasn't spoken to us before, so he doesn't know that this has been a common theme throughout this course. So for someone else to come out and make that point really does drive it home. We're going to be dealing with complexity with systems engineering. When you mix different technologies, different situations, and then the human element together, what you end up with is not going to be simple. And that human element factor leads me on to my next point. 3 out of the 5 panelists brought up without any prompting the fact that systems engineering has to deal with people and it has to deal with users. That's just a fundamental part of systems engineering. I mean, this point is not surprising at all. Systems engineering deals with people. If you get nothing else out of my whole video blog series, let it be that one point. Systems engineering deals with people. So communication is key in this field. During the panel, that was really broken down into 3 main points. The first is that we're going to be dealing with introverts in the field that we're going into. So firstly, try and get yourself out of the box as much as you can, because that's going to give you an advantage over a lot of your peers in this workforce. The second thing is learn how to deal with introverts. So if you want to go into management, learn how you can manage them effectively and get the most out of them. I personally don't think I'm very introverted, but if I want to go into management, I guess that's something that I'm going to have to keep in mind in the future, is that not everyone is like me. I can't deal with everyone the same way I would, deal with myself, I guess. The second point was brought up by Richard Jones, and that was that good leaders are the first amongst equals. He really emphasized that if you want to be a good leader, especially in these sorts of fields, you have to recognize that 1, someone in your team is probably smarter than you, and 2, you have to accept that there are going to be people in your team that are better at some things than you are, because those people are specialists. The sooner you choose to respect those people and use those relationships to your advantage, the better off you're going to be. And the last point that was raised is just do your best to communicate what you know to the rest of the team. Often when projects go off the rails, someone knew that it was going to happen and they just didn't communicate that information to the rest of the team. So they said you're going to be better off if you can communicate to the rest of your team and you can get the rest of the team to communicate to you. Basically, in systems engineering, communication is key. So to wrap up, systems engineering is really about being able to abstract a situation, abstract a system, and also view systems in a holistic way rather than just the sum of its parts. The ideas and principles we've learned in this course, they're going to be useful to us whether we go into systems engineering or not. I think being able to view a system and view the why behind a system, why do I write this code, what's the purpose behind it, being able to think in that way is going to make you a valuable member of your team, but also a valuable member of society. So I hope these videos have been able to provoke thought or give you some extra information that you may not have known, and hopefully they've been marginally entertaining. Enjoy the rest of my blog, and thanks for watching.